All right, you ready for this?
Let's do it.
Cameras rolling.
All right.
A little sippy sip for courage. Oh, we should have had some Jack Daniels. That would have been
Dude,
nice.
yeah, spiked 𝐏𝐢𝐜𝐿 tea.
Aidan,
Christopher,
thank you so much for being with us today.
happy to be here.
How did you get started directing movies?
Oh gosh. Yeah, so I'm a filmmaker, director. I do narrative shorts right now so far. I've yet to work on my first feature film, but I kind of got started in high school. I originally thought I was a musician, wanted to do music, but then I realized I don't really like performing in front of people that much. I much prefer like the behind the scenes, like shadow work. But I really like creating worlds and like making new things out of nothing, using my imagination, and giving people a new perspective on things. And so yeah, in high school, I just my grandparents helped me buy a camera, and I just started making videos, and eventually people like noticed it, started like hiring me for various things, whether it be like music videos or like commercials for the local businesses in the town. But I didn't really think it was an actual viable like career option. I thought it was like just a fun thing, but I didn't think, I was like, I should probably have like a safety net career to actually make a living at. But I met with a guy that was kind of like a little bit of a mentor to me, and he had a full-time living as like a filmmaker or like commercial, whatever, you know. And so I got like confidence to pursue it, and went to Temple studied film there, and really fell more in love with like movies and stuff like that. Expanded my appetite for the medium, and then yeah, just continued to like pushing and making stuff.
What are some directors' motifs that have kind of been showing up in your creations?
Oh gosh, so like, okay. So things that continue to reveal themselves in my work. Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard sometimes for the people themselves to like be able to tell that. For a long time, I've not been sure what that is for me, and I'm still not sure exactly if I know what it is. I think I'm starting to get a grasp on it, but it's funny because like I used to think it was different things in the past, but I've kind of like, and I think it'll continuously evolve as I change and make different work and stuff like that. Right now, like the things that I see popping up in my work is definitely like imagination, kind of like this magical reality that I like to kind of reference around us in the real world, and then also like search for meaning, existential kind of themes, and kind of like a rough existence, I guess. Maybe like characters who don't have it easy or kind of in a rough place in life, and like really like on their like their rock bottom, I would call it. That's what it kind of has been revealed in the most recent stuff, but again, I think it's going to change probably over the years, and it already has changed. So yeah.
How does your faith play into the existential themes that you explore in your films?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, my faith is a huge part of my life. And, you know, I think any honest person, regardless of how long they have had faith or been a believer, Christian, or any other sort of person, religious person, right? I think you'd be lying if you didn't have doubts and didn't like struggle with questions about your faith or about your existence, regardless of how much you have believed what you believe or how long you've believed it. So like I've been a Christian for my whole life, but I still struggle with a lot of big questions about why am I here? What is my purpose? And so that definitely plays a huge part in my work. And I think because I have faith, I think these questions are more on my mind maybe than the average person would be. I'm not really sure, but I think everyone has these same questions. So yeah, I have faith, but it's always this thing I'm continuously like discovering and struggling with and wrestling with. So I think that comes out in my work a lot. And I think that's like one of my biggest things that I like to explore. Yeah.
As you're exploring, new stories to tell, or how much of it is something that you're exploring in yourself and you want to tell for yourself versus an idea that you want to communicate to somebody else?
Yeah, that's I think for me to kind of recently I've kind of started to notice about myself if I don't really feel like a really strong connection to the material that I will be making, it's very hard for me to like really give my all to the project. And so I think for the benefit of both me and the project and the other people involved, like it's important that I have a strong connection to it personally. Otherwise, I'm probably not the best person for the job or to make whatever we're making. Now, so there's a lot of like personal expression that has to be tied to it for me. But also, I think I do want to say something. I think if I didn't want to say something, then for me personally, I do think it's important to have something to say. I think you should be doing both. You should be exploring questions and expressing yourself, but also I think if you don't have anything to say, then it's hard for me to kind of connect with it or understand. And I'm not saying being like making a definitive statement on something. I'm just saying like saying anything really. I do think there's both things. It's expression, but it's also like making a statement. Yeah.
What does purpose mean to you?
Yeah. Purpose means to me, purpose is just like, it's funny. Like I noticed this about myself. It's hard for me to do anything, even if it's like around the house, just like whatever, like fiddling on the guitar, unless I feel like I have like a greater purpose for doing it. I used to play guitar a lot, and but now that I've kind of like not considered that part of my future as much, it kind of like it lost its like appeal to me in a way. I still love music, and I want to play guitar more. I just like it's hard for me to do it when I don't feel like it almost feels like I'm wasting time when I could be spending it doing something else that would be moving me towards a certain goal. So in some ways it's limiting because I'm so geared towards like moving towards a goal, like a purpose, that it's hard for me to do something that isn't geared towards that. But I think it's important for me in everything I do to have a greater purpose for it. Otherwise, I just don't think it's not necessarily like a worthy thing to strive for.
What's the point?
Yeah. What's the point? Yeah.
What is it about film that you feel fills you with so much sense of purpose?
Yeah, I think film is an incredible art form. I think due to the fact that it's like a combination of a lot of different art forms, it makes it so much more powerful and why so many people love movies. And it's such a powerful art form to give people perspective and change and just like make change, transform people. It's very emotive too. So it's got all the things that I think make for powerful art if used well. So I think if you have something to say or you have an important thing you're wrestling with, then film is a great place to do that because the number of people you can affect and how deeply you can affect them can be pretty amazing. So, and for me, film just is the form that I have found the most fulfillment in. So I think I found a lot of purpose in expressing myself and being creative in film because it itches something deep within me that kind of makes me feel like I'm doing something that means it's important,
Mm-hmm. Well, we grabbed drinks 2 years ago, and you said something interesting that I've quoted you a bunch on, where you said, film, verified human experience. It's like the purpose of a film is not just to be a good movie final product, but it's a verified experience that all the people making the movie had while making the movie.
Yeah, no, I think one thing that's really helped me in the past and as I've grown, and I used to be really stressed. I'm still very stressed. Anytime I make a project, very stressed. But I used to be more stressed. One thing that has helped me is I kind of let go of any sort of end result mentality. and kind of like lift it up and be like, hey, whatever happens, if this movie ends up being awful, no one likes it, I just want this experience between these people to be something that is uplifting and gives people a sense of purpose. And that they, yeah. So I think, and that's given me a lot of peace in the process, not being tied to the end result, but yeah. And I think so if I operate like that, then things just run better and people feel more cared for. And not saying I'm very good at it yet, but I'm trying. That's the mentality I try to have.
What draws you to shooting on film?
Yeah, I mean, I love like I think it kind of ties into some of the things I was saying with my motifs. It was the question you asked. Is I like the gritty raw nature of film, the fact that it feels very much flawed and like not perfect, because I think it's life, and I don't like portraying things perfectly or like super clean, and because I just don't think that's very truthful. So it's about being honest, and so that's kind of more just like a philosophy of the medium. But I also just love the way it looks. It's hard to, I mean, that's also a big part of it. I think it's just a beautiful thing, and partly I think it's beautiful because it's like a natural thing. It's like and no frame is going to be the same. It's like every frame is a little different. So there are some downsides, obviously. Like it is more expensive, and it you don't actually know if you got everything correctly. You can't see it for real on the spot. But it also makes you so much more intentional and focused when you're shooting. I think that's a big issue that I see. I do a lot of editing, and a big issue I see is that people aren't intentional when they're shooting. They're kind of just like, they don't come with they might not come in with a plan. They might not come in with any sort of like intention for what they're shooting, and so they kind of just like get whatever and just hope that it works, which can work, and then you can make good movies that way. But I think it's so much more powerful when you come in with a plan, with an intention, and you execute it. And I think shooting film, you almost have to work that way. Otherwise, you're screwing yourself. Yeah. So
It's almost like you're putting your trust in something other than yourself when you're shooting on film, because you're not hoping that you'll find it in the edit later, but you're hoping that like the footage was exposed.
Yeah.
Like there's not a bunch of dirt all over the.
Yeah, and that also kind of works into something else that well, like not being attached to the end result, but about being kind of like just trusting the process, enjoying the process. I have a love-hate relationship with film because it stresses me out, and I always talk about quitting. I do, because like it gives me so much stress. I'm like, I could be doing something so much easier, and not constantly feeling this like need to like get better at my craft every like hour that I have free in my life, but like, spending more time with friends or whatever. If I just did a job that I didn't care about that much. But yeah, kind of letting that end result go, and just, if the negative isn't exposed right, it is what it is. Sometimes you have things don't go wrong, and sometimes that actually ends up being the best case scenario. So I like that, because like, yeah, you're kind of leaving your fate up to God, which is the best thing you can do, in my opinion.
Letting go of control. On the same note of the texture of film that we're talking about, and the impermanence of all things, including the film we're working on, which will eventually degrade and rot. Tell me what dust means to you.
Dust it's this thing I did a film, and you helped me out a lot on. It's called Meditations on Ecclesiastes. It's about the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, and a big like kind of imagery or symbol in that, or metaphor, is dust. The fact that we're all dust, like everything is dust, and it's all going to kind of fade away or blow away, right? And I think in the grand scheme of things, our lives are so short, and so everything we do here, it's not going to last very long. And it's in 100 years, no one might not remember you. And so you might think of that as very depressing, but for me, it's actually incredibly freeing because I'm completely detached from any sort of value that I can achieve myself. And it kind of gives me this freedom to kind of just like, not live life for personal gain or personal achievement or like checking off boxes, but letting it go and kind of trusting that whatever happens is happening for a reason. And, but also not, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Does this grasp on dust that you shall return to being make you think more about leaving a legacy as a film director or more about really living in this present moment?
Yeah, I think one thing I've realized is that the more you get into anything really, you realize how deep it goes, Yeah, everyone's going on a YouTube rabbit hole, right? And you realize how many more videos can there exist about this one topic? It's endless. I've realized that about filmmaking is that there's a lot of freaking filmmakers out there. And there's a lot of people that have made a lot of great movies. So if I ever thought that I was going to be remembered by that many people, more than likely not. Very, very few will remember me in 100 years, 200 years. Even the greatest filmmakers in the world, right now, might not be remembered. You never know. We really don't know. So yeah, I think I'm trying to detach myself from this legacy mindset, and living in the present moment, like you said, kind of not like giving up or not trying, but like just like being more focused on the day, like the moments that between people and doing things for the right reasons. That's really what I'm trying to get at.
So as you're maintaining this experience mindset on the film set, like you said earlier, like making sure everyone in the film set's having a good time and is enjoying the process, even though we're all stressed making this thing come to life. You're thinking about the relationships and the people that you're going to be able to touch with the films you make. Tell me a bit about your personal life, your personal friendships and family, and the sacrifices you've had to make to kind of pursue this craft.
Yeah. So I've recently have a child and I have a wife. Great. We have a great family. And, one thing I've definitely realized recently is that anything good will probably require sacrifice. And if you're not willing to sacrifice for something, then you probably don't deserve it or you don't want it enough. And I think with all relationships, deep ones require sacrifice and require, just letting go of yourself for that person. So I think while I'm definitely not very good at it, I'm going through a trial of fire right now, especially having a child. It's definitely been tough, but I see why it's all worth it, because while it sucks, like having 10% less free time, like I understand that I see my daughter and it's all worth it. Right. And with my friends and my community, sometimes you don't want to go to, say your friend has some sort of event you don't want to go to, but you go to because you care about that person and you want them to feel loved and appreciated. And you're sacrificing that moment for that person so that you can have a deeper, more, full relationship. And I think so anything good it requires sacrifice, and that's especially true with relationships.
How true is it for film?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely applies to film. I think any filmmaker knows that when you're making a movie and you really care about it, you're gonna have to sacrifice a lot, whether that be your finances, whether that be your time, whether that be your sanity,
Health.
Health. it requires a lot and very, very little chance of success. So you're sacrificing a lot for a little, it seems. So you really have to love it. But any filmmaker who knows this is that when it's all said and done, it was worth it. And it's like a lot of people compare filmmaking to like, childbirth in ways. Not that it's at all similar physically at all or mentally or whatever, but it is similar in that like it's incredibly painful in a lot of ways, but once you're done, you've made your film and you release it and people watch it and they don't watch it too. If you just can watch it, right? It all becomes worth it, and you kind of forget all the negative things.
There's an incubation period of whatever. It could be 3 months or 3 years for a film project, and then you're this clam that's just like polishing, chipping away of yourself, of everything, and then at the end you have this product that it lasts as long as dinner and a conversation would. 2 hours.
Yeah.
And how many hundreds of thousands of dollars and man hours and whatever went into it, but
yeah,
there it is, and hopefully you had something to say.
Right, exactly. That's why the purpose is so important, because if you just go into it without anything to say, you spend all that time, all that money, all that sanity, and you end up with a movie that you don't really care about. So that's why it's so important to always have some sort of intention, especially for me at least. I can't just go off like, oh, I'm making a cool like horror movie or whatever. Yeah. I mean, nothing against horror movies. I love a good horror movie, but it's not just about like making like a genre movie or something like that. For me, it's way more about what is it really about, So
we talked a bit about you enjoying shooting on film, and you creating kind of this heightened reality mythos. What are some other visual motifs or visual themes or atmospheric things that might follow your projects?
Visual motifs?
Or anything atmospheric, any color grading or
the
way you light things or the way you frame things. What are some kind of visual technical things that might follow the projects you shoot?
I've definitely been diving deeper into like, I guess you could call it minimalism, I guess, in a way. Is like trying to do more with less. Because I think for me, I sometimes struggle to like truly see like the beauty of something, or like I get down on life frequently. So it's like, I think for me the minimalism thing is kind of like stripping away everything, and what's left, can you still find something magical about it? And can your imagination still give you something beautiful from that thing? So I think visually, I think I'm trying to do that more, whether it's like just doing less cutting or doing less fancy things with the camera or the edit, or but just trying to live to like just like be really still and just so yeah. I'm trying to explore that, and anyone who's seen my films would probably say they look maybe darker, more like contrasty than the average movie would be. But I think that kind of ties into like just exploring the darker parts of humanity and like trying to find the beauty even in those places. And I think so for me, like, people might say, oh, that looks like a sad movie. But for me, like, I'm like, it's a sad movie, but like there's beauty hidden in there, and finding it is the exciting part, because it gives hope to anyone, really.
I was gonna bring your movie posters for Floating Mom and Squadron, put them on the wall.
Oh,
forgot. Damn it. Maybe I'll AI them in. Is imagination something that you can switch on and off, or does it have to come to you?
I think, and everyone knows that kids are the most imaginative beings. And, as you get older, you lose it, right? And you're like, but like, why do you lose it? Obviously, like, you have to start dealing with the realities of life. You can't, have hours to spend just roaming around the backyard. But I don't know. Yeah, I think imagination is something you can practice and get better at, and yeah. So I think for me, I've been trying to reawaken that part of myself, creatively. I think just because I think it's a really exciting creative world to explore. Metaphorically, because you can kind of like do things imaginatively that speak to real existence in a beautiful way. But yeah, no, I don't think you can just turn it on. I think it takes practice. But we all have it. So I think, and I want to I like bringing that out in my work. Yeah.
What happens if a client hires you to do creative artistic work and you are not feeling creative, but you sign the contract, so you gotta deliver something. So how do you put yourself into that that mindset to get the work done?
Yeah, that's tough. That's definitely tough. I have struggled with that, and yeah, I think it's if I'm editing something, which I do a lot of editing, like I said, it's a little easier for me to do that because I can kind of just like rely on the craft and like making something good craft wise, to the best of my ability, and that for me gives me enough like feeling like I did right by the client, right? Maybe I didn't fully connect with it, but at least I tried my best. But sometimes if I'm directing, it's harder because I feel more of a creative attachment to my directing work, and it's very hard for me to like kind of do something that I'm not psyched about. But I think it comes down to like just trying to like access whatever the client finds beautiful about something or worthy of some making, and trying to put myself in their shoes and give myself their perspective. So, and that takes work. Like you have to kind of like you have to let go of yourself a little bit. So, still something I'm working on, but and I think you can always do things to like give yourself some personal stake in a project. If someone's hiring you for a creative job, then I would hope that they would trust you creatively and be willing to give you some leeway in some of the creative decisions that are made. Because if they hired you, they obviously trust you to execute.
Yeah. I feel like you and me have both been in places where, we're debating with the client about like what they hired us to make a creative vision for them, and we know it works, but they want to do their own thing. It's like, well,
yeah.
like what's that balance? So
yeah, it's kind of funny because like the creative world is like one of those things where a lot of people think they know how to do it, because they watch lots of movies or whatever. And, to a certain degree, we're all creative. I'm not going to discount anyone's creativity. But, you are hiring us as professionals, and we've seen a lot more movies than you probably. We've probably like studied a lot more than like the client probably has. So there is something about having creative taste that has been trained. And I think that's something that needs to be trusted more in artists. By the client. So not just thinking, oh, we should make this cool thing because I think it's cool. Yeah.
As you've been feeling down, kind of lately, maybe not just stressed, but just kind of feeling like, oof, I might quit. What have been things that have been bringing you joy in the film realm to help you kind of keep going?
Yeah. Part of it, honestly, for me is like just like I find it hard to quit things, for better for worse. I need to see it through. Otherwise I'll feel like I failed, like I didn't give it my all. I need to do something, and be able to tell myself I did it. So that's part of how I keep going, even when I'm feeling maybe like not very motivated by the work. But yeah, I think things that keep me going.
Things that bring you joy.
Things that bring me joy. I think honestly, just the act of being creative and using that part of your brain is such an empowering thing for anyone. So I think just getting out there and doing things and is just it heals you, even if you're not necessarily like, it's like, you know, someone's depressed and they're in their house alone. They don't want to go hang with people, but we all know that if they just went and hang with people, they would feel better, most likely, more than likely. It's the same thing with like what we do is like, if I just get out there and do something, even if I don't want to, it'll just the act of doing it, being creative, that cathartic expression is gonna be good for me.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine tell me, don't forget to play when you're writing. I'm a terrible writer, but whenever I sit down with that paper and I'm looking at I'm like, ooh, architecture, save the cat, like 5 story beats. I'm just like, all the rules are there, and like I'm just so scared to write the first sentence.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because I've forgotten how to play.
Yeah, you actually make a really good point there. Something, yeah. I'm glad you said that, because I've definitely been trying to access that play way more over the past, I think since I've kind of detached myself from like having to learn all the rules. I'm still always trying to learn as much as I can, but my favorite artists, whether it be filmmakers, musicians, painters, or whatever, visual artists or whatever, have a lot of play, and very much like this, like not traditionally like by the rules considered good, right? By some of the things they're doing. But the play and like the seemingly like just like imaginative nature of their work is the best part for me. And so I've been trying to do that myself. And so when I sit down to write, like trying to turn on that part of my brain that's like detached from like, okay, is this actually like good? Doesn't matter. Just let yourself go. And when I do that, usually I go back like a few days later, or a week or months later, and be like, wow, that was actually pretty good. But yeah, when I'm like overly focused on like the hitting certain marks or following certain rules, it does kind of lose its life. But that's what makes the creative, world so hard, because to a certain degree you do have to sometimes hit certain marks, or you have to get your film a certain length. If you make a 6-hour movie, a lot of people probably won't watch it, even though I have watched 6-hour movies. Yeah. So that's what makes it tough. Keeping that imaginative play within bounds, but not turning it off. Yeah.
I think there's a language of cinema which you must understand and be able to speak. There's a language that the audience is going to expect when they pay for their movie ticket that you must deliver on. But Story by Mickey and like Save the Cat and all this, like the formulas for the story. It's just people don't go to a movie. Well, sometimes they go to a movie to see a formula. Maybe some of the action movies, but I mean all the Oscar winners. I mean, there's very rarely is it a formula. It's usually just one character they're exploring, and it made the formula. It had never been done like that before, and that's why it really spoke to people.
I find it very hard to feel if I know someone that's done something similar to what I'm doing, it's very hard for me to continue doing it, because I just have this weird, like, I mean, it's not weird, but I want everything I do to be like
Original.
Very original. So that's why it's hard for me to like direct something I didn't write, because the actual like initial idea creation is the originality part, the creative part for me, and I feel so attached to that, and I really need it to be like, yeah, never before done.
Which of your projects to date is your favorite?
Oof, my favorite project.
I've worked on a lot of them, so
yeah,
maybe it'll be one I know a lot about.
Yeah, I think my short film Squatter is probably my favorite I've done, partly because I think the making of it was very exciting. It was the first time actually, it was like my first big project I'd shot in film, so that was pretty exciting. And then I think just like it's definitely not like it's more like non-traditional in terms of like how it plays out. Like there's no dialogue, It's very slow. It's very like maybe the average viewer probably wouldn't like really engage with it that much, but it like speaks to me in a deeper way. And I like some of the things I was doing there. Kind of like that kind of like sparked some ideas moving forward for what I want to continue like exploring.
I've noticed a theme of addiction and levitation in a lot of your projects. Floating orbs, floating moms.
Part of what I like in filmmaking is like doing things like we just watched The Illusionist recently, so this kind of ties into that. I think one of my things about any kind of art form is if I can feel like I can do it myself like very easily, it's harder for me to consider that like good art. And I'm not, and that's a blanket statement that I don't think is necessarily true for everything, obviously. But, you know, obviously this question has been talked about a lot with the AI art. I think if I know it was created by AI, I immediately discount a lot of value from it, because there was no like human struggle to make it bring it into existence. There was no sacrifice that was part of the process.
Or the sacrifice that was required was done by people who are not receiving any credit for it.
Yes.
But it's being sourced by imagery.
Right.
That's sitting on a server that somebody else sacrificed. But
exactly.
Someone else is now taking
Stolen.
credit for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and so basically how that ties into the levitating stuff is I do like good craft stuff, like doing things that the average person might not know how it was done. And like, so like that idea that like a lot of work went into making this, you know, and giving people that magical sense that they can't, you know. So I think that's part of it is like doing things that are kind of like obviously not very achievable maybe by the average person. It makes it more exciting for me in terms of the process, because I don't want anything to be easy. Like I don't want to like just do the easiest thing. I kind of want to make it tricky so we can like make something better. Yeah, I mean the levitation, the addiction stuff kind of ties into the themes that I like exploring too. It's just like addiction is something that's puts you on your rock bottom usually, whether that's drugs, whether that's addiction to success, wealth, anything. It will eventually take you to a rock bottom. If it's not something that's true and pure and like, yeah. And the levitating stuff, it's just this magical reality that I also attribute to a spiritual reality that I believe exists all around us. And I think film offers an incredible way of exploring that reality through some sort of these like magical touches you can kind of make. So,
well, right away, short films are awesome because of this, because the audience is down for anything, especially if you're going to a short film festival. Like you can just introduce a magical world where, mothers just float upside down, for and people are just, okay, all right, what do you got for me? And like, as long as you explain that early on in the movie and, you don't change the rules later on, people are down for it. So it's very great medium to explore existential themes like that. If you're going to do some weird aesthetic choice that nobody's ever seen before.
It is. I think. Well, yeah. Short films are definitely the easiest because, you don't have to have like tons of buy-in from the audience. You can kind of suspend disbelief a little bit. It does get trickier when you're moving into feature films, because then you're asking people to engage with something that's a little more fantastical for a longer period of time. So it gets trickier. But I love film for what you're saying. The fact that you can do. Be very expressive with how you show the reality, because film, it's photography, right? You're taking a picture of a real thing, right? You're not painting it, so you're taking a picture of a real thing. But when you insert something that's not real in that real thing, then you create this dissonance, and it's like then people have to figure out what it means. And that's very exciting for viewers. I mean, like, people that have seen my short film, Untitled Floating Mom short, like, everyone loves to ask, what's the deal with the floating mom? Like, what does it mean? It's very exciting to, like, not know, like, that dissonance between this magical thing and then this reality thing that's there. Like, what, why? You know? So I love that. So it's just, there's so much inherent, like, drama and conflict and possibilities there.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I wish there was a way you could tap into that and get us like 4 floating mom shorts a year, because it's just so fun.
Thank you.
Spirituality surrounds all of us.
Yeah.
It surrounds all.
Yeah.
How does everything have to do with everything, in your sense?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, like, you know, so part of the reason I like exploring the spiritual reality in my work is because I find it hard for myself to believe in the spiritual reality around me on a daily basis. So me exploring that in my film work is a way of trying to access that for myself. And like, that's how I like kind of like understand it better. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I believe that everything around us was made by a God, right? The God that I believe in. And I think so, and he's a spiritual God, and everything is thus very physical and very spiritual. So I think, ignoring the spiritual world is you're ignoring a big part of everything.
What does all mean to you?
Yeah, all. Yeah. So, yeah, I think all is an important thing for any artist to try to tap into. It's, if you're not looking at anything in front of you with awe, then I think you're discounting. You're missing out on so much. I think, like I was saying earlier, like what I like exploring darker parts of humanity is because I like to be able to just try to see the awe in there. Like what is gonna surprise me about this evil person, for instance, or yeah, this person that I don't quite understand, and a lot of what they do just frustrates me. What about them is actually beautiful, and how can I access that and look at them with awe? How can I look at, you know, this wooden table and like the grains in the wood with awe, or anything in nature for that matter? If you can kind of access that, then I think you're going to be so much more inspired and creative than you ever have been before. So I think for me, I've been trying to access that more recently, because I think it's a source of. I think obviously you can live a happier life that way too. I think not dwelling on like how things are going bad for you, trying to see the bright side. That's really it.
That's huge. I mean, I'm trying to keep up with it. It's big stuff. Yeah. Tell us what you're working on now.
Oof. Yeah. So I'm in this weird place right now where I have done I guess I've done a good amount of short films over the years. Some of them I'm more proud of, some of them I'm not as much proud of. But right now I'm kind of in a place where I want to do something bigger, as in a feature film. So I have several different scripts I've been working on over the years. Some are all in different stages of being completed. So I really just need to finish those scripts so I can move on with those projects. But I also want to keep like shooting stuff too. So I'm also potentially going to be trying to make more short films, just because like the time between me making a feature film and now is going to be so long that it's going to be hard for me to be not making something for that long. Well, yeah, not shooting something rather.
Can you tell us anything about one of the features?
Yeah. So the one I'm working on right now, I recently pivoted to it because my one before that was starting to get a little too expensive to be my first feature. So this one is more of like a coming of age magical realism story about this girl who, after her father's death, is looking to explore the childhood stories he told her and see how much truth was in them. So it's kind of this like journey back through her childhood memories, but in modern day, to see, and so she's kind of like, so there's like these like magical realities that are kind of interacting with her reality. So, yeah, that's what I'm writing right now, and I'm very excited about it. I was inspired to make it when I had my daughter. So I was wrestling with the idea of how much imagination should I instill in her when I feel like a lot of the things that I had this depressing thought where a lot of the things I thought about life didn't necessarily come true the way I thought they would. Like when you first understand how movies are made, you're like, oh, that's how they did it. It kind of happens with life a little bit. But you can't continue living in that mindset. You have to, again, like I've been saying, re-access that awe, that imagination that you started with as a child. And so that's kind of what the story's about, is like a daughter struggling with what her father told her as a child, and how much of it is true.
You've heard of the concept of the dip?
The dip?
A little bit.
No.
Like the dip is just a graveyard of where, you start out, you don't know anything about movies, and you don't, so you're just fine with that. And then you start to learn about movies, and you get this little, I'm learning.
Yeah.
And then you spike, your interest spikes, and your imagination is all over the place. And then your perceived skill at what you're doing greatly exceeds what your actual skill is at that thing.
Yeah.
And you think you're way better than you are. And then you hit this peak where, maybe it's the couple of first reality checks, and then you come down the curve into this dip. And then you hit the point at which you realize how good you actually are is way worse than what you thought you were. It's a really tough place to be. Most people quit here.
Right.
And then it's this drop that goes even lower. Oof. Where you think you are way worse than you actually are.
Yeah.
And you continue to grow in your skills, but your perceived skill set of yourself is so low that it's like, it is a depressing place to be. It's the dip, which is what you're experiencing
sounds
now.
Awful.
And then eventually you get to this point where, okay.
Right.
I know how much I've learned. I know how much I have left to learn, but we're okay.
Right.
You find this place of peace, and then you finally, the experts of their craft are all here, where they never quite exceed. They always realize they have a bit left to learn.
Yeah.
But there's a bit more peace.
Yeah, and you start finding excitement in the fact that you don't know everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I like that. That's very accurate.
Make it through the dip. Don't quit.
Yeah. The dip.
Cool, man. Where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me at my website. My website is 𝐏𝐢𝐜𝐿, GUYNEZ.com. Same as my Instagram. So you can also just search my name and I will come up, because my last name is very uncommon.
Do you have any screenings or short films that you're shooting in the very near future we can look forward to?
Yeah. Well, you helped me out on a short film that I've been very lazy in finishing. But I will hopefully be finishing that soon. And I hope to figure out what I actually want to do with it, because I'm not really sure how I want to screen it, but it needs to have some sort of physical screening. So,
Aidan, thank you so much for coming.
Dude, pleasure. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Was there anything